Hello, everyone. Welcome to our monthly meeting. It looks like we might have a lot of features to talk about, potentially. Thanks for continuing to meet last week when I had to be out. So I'll just let Mark go from there with our agenda.
Okay. So we have a combination of a ton to demo and very little, so depends on how you look at it. So let's start with some of the just regular feature enhancements and that kind of thing. So the first thing that we had was the availability within a branch was not showing properly. So the example here is, let's do this first in libcat. Okay, so if we were within a branch, so we'll just get to there by saying branch equals H. So if we did a search for I'm drawing a blank now. Let's go for dogs. Sorry, I'm unoriginal today. Dogs. Okay. Okay, so we've got dogs. Then we said, let's just filter to things that are available now. And available now up here means anything available within the library system. So we weren't showing formats for these. So we should have seen the available at another location. So now if we do the same search for dogs, and we limit to just what's available now, then we can see those appear. So let's keep going with some of the availability and facet type of things. So the next batch is all a couple of new configuration options. Let's go one more fix. Okay, so let's see, looking at if we go into our admin panel, we've got a couple of new configuration options. I'm going to look at these for actually a location. Let's look at Eagle Valley's juvenile collection. So if we look at their juvenile collection, the way this is set up is we've got just a couple of locations that we want to include, and then we're including all of the other juvenile collections at all of the other branches. What has been happening, if we did an evld.marmot.org branch equals evej, so we'll look at the juvenile collection for Eagle Valley, and we did our same search for dogs because we're going to be unoriginal still. So here's our dogs. It's available in Eagle. We were seeing that it could be available from another library. So there we can see what's available in Avon or Gypsum. The bug was when we looked at the available at facets, all we saw was the juvenile collection. We couldn't say, hey, I want to limit to everything available over in Avon or everything available in Gypsum. So we've added some new limiters here. So the first one is this include all library branches and facets. So that's what that's saying is when we are searching an individual location, then for all other branches within that system, make sure to include all of the other locations in the owning branch and available at, as well as the collection and detailed location. So all of those facets, and what that then gives us the ability to do is to say, if we go to EVLD2, branch equals EVEJ. Now when we search for dogs, then in our available at, we get all of the other collections. So we can say, show me everything that's available in Avon, Eagle, and Gypsum. So this is...
I have a question.
Okay.
So you still have to, in records to include, specify all of the branches, and then in addition check the new option, searching to include all library branches, or can you include all library branches and it's smart enough to know?
You still have to include the specific branches you want.
And it takes it from what you have specified.
Yep.
And this is a location variable, not a library system.
That one is location based.
Okay.
So, and that I think is something that we're going to turn on for almost everybody. The only people I can think of that don't want to do that is for some of the schools. Elementary schools, middle schools, those things where we really are just searching your local collection, and you don't want to see that this is available at another elementary school, you would leave that turned off. So,
so when you release this, Mark, how is that going to affect current settings? Is everything else will just stay the same unless we go through and change it, or?
Let me double check, but I'm 99% sure that this one is defaulted on, which I think is what most people want.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just was kind of, I don't know,
yeah.
we've got, we've got some kind of weird stuff with our collection code. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so if, yes, that one will default on for everybody. We will update school locations to have it turned off again.
You're going to automatically update schools to be off?
Do you want to give me a list of your schools, and then we will?
Yeah. Well, because I think, okay. We'll just have to see.
Or, yeah, I guess you guys let me know if you want it all disabled. For Marmot Libraries, we'll turn it on. For all of the other Discovery partners, with the exception of maybe Nashville.
Okay, why don't I let you know the libraries that are not looking at other, like the rest of ASP and CAT? I think that would probably be the easiest way to get that across. Okay, cool. Sorry to overtake.
If you don't have those other libraries included in the include, where you have your include records, and you have that option turned on, it wouldn't make any difference, right? Because we have nothing listed for them to. I mean, we don't have anybody else's listed for them.
It shouldn't. So it still shouldn't show them. We can double check that though. So.
Mark, this is Diane, and I just wanted to tell you thank you very much. Our children's staff will be thrilled about this.
Excellent. So, and hopefully there's nothing you need to do to set it up. So,
sounds wonderful.
And Mark, I'm sorry to have so many questions, but now this affects just that available at facet?
It's the available at as well as the owning branch, which is not turned on in this case, but. So it's those two.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Okay, so that's the first new switch that we have. The second new switches are both, so these ones are available both at the location as well as the library level. And it's these include all records and shelving facets and include all records and date added facets. So we've had some requests for people to say, hey, if you're in a consortium and you want to see when it was added, regardless of location. So previously these have been targeted based off things you own only. and we wanted to give the ability to say, I want to see date added to collection for anybody across the consortium, or for people that are unscoped. We've had a few requests to say, hey, I want to see date added for everybody in the collection so that my patrons can jump on stuff that have been added anywhere sooner. And same thing with showing all of the shelving facets. I think for the most part, these two are mainly going to be turned on for the shared stuff. So catalog.aspencat.info, opac.marmot.org, flc.flatironslibrary.org. I don't know that a lot of individual libraries will turn them on. You're of course welcome to, but I think it's mainly a consortial level union catalog type of setting. So we will turn those on for the union catalogs and leave it off for everybody else by default, unless you say, please switch me. And so what those do is for like opac2.marmot.org, if we do a search for dogs, then owning branches, we've got everything. We've got are added in the last, so this is added in the last across all libraries in Marmot. I'm sorry, it's not owning location, it is shelf location, which it looks like I don't have turned on. So here, if we go back up, let's go to the library systems and go down to OPAC. And then down in our facets, if we add detailed location, which we'll call shelf location, then we get it for everybody, which winds up just being a whole lot of records. So for the most part, people don't really want that turned on. But
So, Mark, when you deploy, will you automatically turn it on for a catalog and default off for everybody else, for all other libraries?
yes, yep, it defaults off for everybody, which should be appropriate everywhere except union catalogs, and then we'll turn it on for the union catalogs. Then the other thing that we had, there has been a setting for the additional locations to include in the available at facet. So right now, let's go back to the list. So right now, CMC has this on. So this is branches that aren't necessarily in your system, but that are nearby branches that you think might be useful for patrons to go to. So in this case, CMC is close to a lot of public libraries across the state. They don't want to see necessarily every single public library because they're not in every single city. But they do want to see like Steamboat Springs and Buena Vista and Frisco and Breckenridge and all the Summit County ones and Vail and Salida, some of the Gunnison ones and Eagle Valley ones. So in this case, if we do a CMC2, so now when we search for dogs, our available at includes a few other locations. So we could say, hey, show me everything that is available at Breckenridge. So if I'm up there in Frisco, I could get something close to me that I could drive to, or if I'm in Glenwood Springs, I could go to the Glenwood branch. So just a little bit more, a little easier for people to get there. any questions on any of those search-related changes and new settings? Okay. So the next thing that we worked on was paying fines. So when a user goes in and pays fines, we wanted to give them a little more information about what was going on, because when you pay fines, you're going outside of the catalog. We need a way for patrons to say, hey, I finished paying the fines, you can refresh my account now, so that it doesn't look like they haven't paid when they're in their catalog. So yes, after they pay, we want the catalog to reflect that. There's no easy trigger to say from the payment processor, this person paid fines that PICA gets. So now if you click to pay fines online, either there or from the sidebar, we take them to the page where they go pay fines. You fill that out, you pay your fines. After you do all of this and you close out, when you come back, it says, hey, after you're done making your payment, click refresh my fines to see your updated account information. When I do that, I'm still going to have $4 in fines because I didn't pay any fines, but it will go through and force that reload, force a new lookup from the ILS. This is also a new setting. Some people are not linking to an actual payment processor. They're linking just to a page on their website that says, here's how to pay fines. Come into the library with your checkbook, or bring cash. So this is now under our ILS account integration I'm sorry, it's not ILS account integration. It's under fines and e-commerce. So you have to have your show e-commerce link checked on if you want to send people to a payment site. And then there's this show refresh account button. If that is checked off, then we just skip that process, assuming that you're going to a page on your website that tells people how to collect fines. So does that make sense?
Hey, Mark, it's Joe. That makes total sense. But when are we talking about this being deployed?
Oh, sorry. All of this code is planned to deploy Thursday night.
Thank you. So Friday, in theory, I can come in and check that button.
Yep. Friday, everything should be up to date. This one will also default on. So.
Thanks. Less work.
Yes, the majority of people are indeed going to an actual payment page. So we will point them there.
And if we don't have that toggled on for our libraries currently, like we don't accept payment, that won't be effective to us.
If the show e-commerce link is off, then
okay,
they never see the link to pay fines.
That sounds perfect. Thank you.
And for now, that process only works for Sierra and Millennium. It isn't implemented for any other ILSs.
Actually, it should send you, we don't have a specific restriction in there saying don't do it for anything else, right?
No, we don't, there isn't any fines in accounts for the other ILSs.
Okay. I think we might be showing them for Horizon, but yes, if we're not showing fines for you, so then obviously this process is moot. But let's see. The other fix on that is last month we introduced the minimum fine amount. That was, hey, if you set or actually, there's the minimum fine amount to update, or so user profile, maximum fine amount to allow account updates. So the setting to say, hey, if you owe more than $10, we're not going to let you change your address. We had a couple of people express, how do I turn that off? And the previous solution was, well, just set it to a really big number. So if somebody owes you $10,000, then it would still disable it. You can now set that to 0 or any negative number, so 0, -1, and it won't block patrons from updating their account information regardless of how much they own. So if somebody owes you $10,000, they could still update their address or phone number. Next, we made some changes to emails and texting. So if we go back to our dog search for, let's get rid of EVLV2. Okay, so we'll do it from CMC. So we can text, we can email, share to Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, those kind of things. What we did for emails, let me do this for, let's go to Mesa 2. Yeah, let's look at our new adult fiction. Okay, so if we wanted to text, we've always given people the option. Oh, I have to log in. So now I'm logged in. We've given people the ability to select an edition to get more information. So the additional information that it will send is the call number and the shelf location. This previously wasn't working. It would just send, I think it always sent the very last call number and never sent a shelf location. So if we want our Blackstone Audio 2007, sorry, we're gonna email it just, actually. So we'll email it just so that we can show you the results. Okay, so we'll send you the email. One thing to be aware of, so it is only sending you the shelf location and call number if you own it. So in this case, here is our email. We get that it is an audio CD, we get the author, we get a link directly to the record. So if we click on that, we get to the edition that we specified. If you don't own it though, it's not going to show you the shelf location and call number, mainly because it's not of much use to you. So let me find one that does. So here's a few that we do have that. So let's email this. So there's the book. We'll send that to me. So here is our new one. So we see our call number and our shelf location as well. That same information appears within text messages as well. So it's just harder to demo over the on the screen sharing since I'm not sharing my phone. Any questions about those changes? The other thing we did for shelf, oh, and then just to mention, if you don't pick an edition, it'll send you to the grouped work. So the URL that it sends you to would be to the entire work rather than a specific edition. And then for texting, we're limiting the title to I think 30 characters, just because those were getting long enough that they were cutting off the text message, and you couldn't see the call number or any of the links or anything. So, okay, a few more account things. So we had an issue when we were placing fines or placing holds for Millennium and Sierra systems. So if we placed our hold on our dog's book and we said we want to cancel this automatically if it is not filled by tomorrow, we can submit our hold request. That is interesting. Oh, that's the error that you would be getting. If we go to arlington.marmot.org where it's fixed, and we'll look at our new books. And we'll place a hold on this one that's on order and say that we want it by tomorrow and submit our hold request. And there it is. So now when we go to our, if we click it twice, it doesn't like that. Now when we go to our titles on hold, it will show the correct date, so it just wasn't filling that out properly. So now we can see that, hey, this cancels tomorrow, this one cancels today. Rats, that one did get sent. So we'll cancel those manually. Okay, next thing we fixed, this is again another new patron setting. So let me switch back here to Mesa 2. And we'll cancel this other one we just placed. Okay. So we've got another new option. I'm going to go into our configuration again. So library configuration. We've had various people that like having first initial, last name, last initial. We finally decided that you are free to pick and choose now. Whichever version you like, first initial, last name, or first name, last initial, you can configure it yourself and go back and forth. So if we go into our ILS account integration, user profile, we can display first initial, last name, which has been the default, or first name, last initial. So take your pick. We will save those changes. That will then clear out anybody who has existing name set and restart it from scratch. It's completely transparent to the patron, but you do have to log out and log back in to see the new version. So if we log in again, then it's actually includes the middle name too if it's there. So we get RMark DN. So either way you want to do it, that's fine. Let's see.
And the default is?
First initial, last name, which should be consistent with how it is everywhere right now. The other thing that will happen is if we update the patron name, so if I go into so there's Millennium. If I edit myself and I'll spell out my middle name or something, close that again. This should take effect pretty quickly. So as soon as it detects that the name is different, it will update that automatically. So so that the patron gets their name. So if somebody gets married or something, you don't have to wonder why they don't have, or if they change their name. Their new name appears automatically without doing anything. Okay, so those are the bulk of the changes. We've got a couple of other ones that we'll just send out as part of release notes. They're just little changes that apply to one or two libraries. Those are the big new things with settings changes. Any questions on any of that before we go into kind of the new functionality that is not quite ready for release? We want to spend another month refining it, but it's looking good. Yeah.
This is Shelley from the school district. Is that name change per account or is that per library system?
Per library system.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I want to change all to first name, it could be done. I could do it across the board for everybody.
Correct. Yep.
Correct.
One click instead of 25 or however many.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep. And that's based off patron home library, not the system that they're in. So if I'm using my Mesa County card, the display name would show the same even if I'm using different different catalogs. So if I log into CMUs and with my Mesa County card, it would still show. Or if I log into the school district one with my Mesa County card, or vice versa.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? We'll dive into the new stuff.
In that left, where you have the picture and the lettering sideways, the search and account and help, that's available now to be turned on if we choose.
It is available.
Okay, and you do that at our request, not something we pick.
Yep, correct. So right now, I believe Arlington's the only one that has it on. We will probably next month actually have everybody turn it on, probably. And this bar winds up, when you get into mobile mode, it rotates, so that's what shows across the top here. So it's a consistent type of menu in different orders. I forgot there is one more thing that we have done, and that is a start on some linked data. This is not really available anywhere. It's mainly it's forming the foundation for linked data, so providing additional information to Google. This isn't anything that we actually expect anybody to, or patrons won't use it. Google will use it, but patrons won't use it. So here we've got some linked data. So it's the URL/library, the ID of the library as it's defined in the libraries table, /system is the system. What this gives us, if we go to, second, let me pull, here's my Google linked data validator. So we are going to fetch a URL. We are going to say, give us linked data about this library system. In this case, we are just doing schema.org because BibFrame, strangely, that we have found so far doesn't actually have the concept of there's a library that owns this stuff. We haven't figured out the actual correct thing. So we're an organization according to schema.org now. We have a name. Eventually we'll populate this with additional stuff like logos and that kind of thing, but for now we want to just have the URL, or we want to have the name. This could also have things like your website home URL and that kind of thing. In this case, we have two sub-organizations as far as schema.org defines it. We've got the Gunnison Library and the Old Rock Library in Crested Butte. And these are pointers to additional linked data. So if we look at that, and these, if we click on them, take us there too. So we can either, there's our branch information. In this case, we're showing the address, the phone number, hours and locations. So the information that you're entering on those location pages. And if we look at those as linked data, probably doesn't like that we put spaces in front of, there we go. Okay, so in terms of linked data, we are saying this is a library. Schema.org defines the library more as the individual branch than the whole system. So that's what we're calling this. We've got the branch code, which is our internal ILS code. We say that we have a map. We give it the link to the map. We've got a telephone. We've got the parent organization, which points us back up to the library. And then we've got all of our hours. So this gives us some power in terms of defining institutions within the digital archive. We can start pointing to permanent URLs for your libraries, which can then give hours and address information and that kind of thing. The next step on this is going to be to start defining offers for individual records so that we can start telling Gunnison or telling Google that Gunnison owns this copy of Harry Potter and they are open today from 9 till 7 and they have a copy of Potter on the shelf. So it gives us some neat things to start doing with linked data, and we can start building that out and hopefully telling Google more stuff that it wants to know. So any questions on that? All right, okay, moving on then. Let's get out of our linked data and we will start looking at digital archive functionality. So we're going to go to cmc2.marmot.org. So unfortunately the offers is not there yet, but we've got the next little bit of it. So next step is to actually generate the offers. So hopefully next month would be my goal. Okay, so in CMC, we've done a couple of things. This is development work that we've been talking about for the last couple of months that is now getting closer and closer. So if we jump into, we'll do a search for Camp Hale. We are doing two things here. We're searching the digital archive. We are also searching EBSCO. So we get our regular search results. So we've got Invisible Men on Skis, World War II at Camp Hale. We've got additional information now in the Explore More bar. And we've done a lot of work styling this. So the first thing we're going to get is if we have an exact hit on an entity, so person, place, or event, we're going to show those first. So in this case, we know, hey, we've got lots of information about Camp Hale itself. We are also showing links to EBSCO, magazines, newspaper, articles, academic journals, and then all EBSCO results. And then we go into, here's the collections that it's part of, here's other things that it's mentioned of. So here's a book that Steamboat is putting in, here's some high-resolution images, audio files, other people that it's related to, other places that it's related to, and then kind of back to the start. So let's look a little bit more at, so this is EDS. So you do have to have an EDS account. It is using the EDS APIs. And right now it is active for CMC. We're still trying to get EBSCO to give us the correct usernames and passwords for the other EDS subscriber. So, which hopefully soon. Okay, so let's dig into looking at, let's start kind of backwards here. So let's look at the related people. So this is actually doing some linked data querying. So as we look at the people related to our Camp Hale search, this is actually saying, okay, we got a bunch of information. We got some audio files, we got some images, we got some books. Let's look at all of the people identified in those and then give information. So it's not really a straight search. It's a linked data, navigating the linked data graph. So then we get additional information about each of these people, and we could click into any of those to get some more information about them. Oop. And Fedora went away. Hopefully that is not a bad sign for this demo. We'll see. Interesting. Okay, we'll look at that later. This is why it's not being turned on for anybody yet. Okay, so we'll go back to our search results. So that's related people, related events, related places, all of those go in so that you can see them. There's definitely some work we want to do there in terms of being able to sort them better and possibly some additional filters. Sorting and pagination are the latest hang-up that we had because of how we're navigating the linked data graph. Let's see, we did additional display for a lot of different artifacts. So like audio files, oh, these are related audio files. We can then click into them. We can play their interviews. We can read transcriptions of them and that kind of thing. So we've got a lot of metadata now that we're displaying. All of the related people. Let's try clicking on another one, see if that's gonna. Okay, so now it's gonna work. Okay, so there's his person, more information about him. All of the subjects are clickable as well. So if we wanted to get more information within the archive about ski troops, we could see what else is tagged with that. So there's other things related to it, images, audio files, everything else tagged with it. The other thing to notice is the Explore More. So we've got a lot of functionality in the Explore More now. So we're showing the collection that it's part of. We're showing other images that are related to it based off of some of the other subjects that are in there. And we're showing related articles from EBSCO. So clicking on that would take us more to EBSCO. We will also be showing related titles depending on what's clicked. So let's go back to our Camp Hale search. Let's see, let's get into EBSCO and EDS in a minute, and I'll answer those questions in a few. So additional things, if we look at some more images, and there's some performance tuning we need to do in terms of, we've got a couple of new sources of data that aren't necessarily fast to query, so both EBSCO and Fedora at times can be a little slow to query, so we'll put some of this into some AJAX calls so that the page loads are a little faster. So here we go. There's all of our high-res images. If we look at the Explore More Now functionality, we'll notice that we're starting to get book results as well because we're looking in the archive itself rather than in the catalog. So we want to say, hey, there's other books related to Camp Hale that you might be interested in as well. And then that takes you there. So the whole idea is to really connect people so that no matter where they are, what they're searching, they can see that we have other sources of information. We've got EBSCO, we've got the digital archive. So we don't want to overwhelm people and say, hey, all you have is, or we want people to be able to tell kind of where they are. We want people to get to other content that they might like easily. So here's our display of images. We've got some related titles here. Right now, these are based off of the subjects in here. We are also looking at providing linked data and processing linked data tied to collections. Probably you could tie it to individual pictures and people as well if you wanted, but mainly tied to collections to say, here's a set of resources that are curated by librarians that say, hey, if you're looking at the EVLD local history collection, here's some great resources for you if you do come to the library. So we can curate some of those. Let's go back and we'll look at the EBSCO integration a little bit. Actually, let's look one more. Let's look at Camp Hale first. Okay, so we're starting to show a little more information for the places. So we're showing images that are tagged into it. We're building the map based off of the position. So when geographic coordinates get added into the places, we'll be able to show a map. And then this is Wikipedia data. So we can actually tag any event or any entity, so person, place, or event, and say, here is related information in Wikipedia or other sources. so that we can give people links to that. And then we don't have to redundantly have information that says, here's the entire Wikipedia article. We don't have to have people write that as they're entering information. We can use other sources of linked data, which then also means that as this is updated, it stays up to date. So right now we're doing with that with a couple of sources. We're looking at PICA information, we're looking at Wikipedia, and then we'll be adding additional sources as we go. Okay, so now going back to our Camp Hale results, let's look at what we've got from EBSCO. And right now we are doing EBSCO EDS integration for two reasons to start with them. One, most of the academic libraries are using EDS, and two, they've got good APIs that allow us to do this integration. Summon would be the next logical articles or the next logical interface to integrate with. They also have some APIs. Other databases, it's going to depend entirely on what sort of APIs they offer. So we need to start asking them, what do you have in terms of integration? Do you have linked data? Do you have APIs? How can we integrate with your stuff? Looking at it now, we broke up some of the big facets to say magazines, news, academic journals, and primary sources are the ones that we're looking at primarily here. So if we click into magazines, this gives us results from EBSCO. So here's books related to, or sorry, not books, here's in this case some periodicals related to it. We're showing information from EDS. We'll be doing some additional formatting of these to make the display a little prettier, but you can definitely click into these, see if they've got full text or not. So if we wanted to go in and say, hey, we do want some information about hut trips, log in, and get that information. So right now this is doing a direct transfer over to EDS. We'll play as well with showing some of that information within PICA. Likely may be an option in the future. So there's all of our full text that we can start reading. The advantage of showing it in PICA would be being able to do the explore more functionality within PICA for the full text of the articles. So if we clicked into this, we could see all of it. We could also see, hey, here's books related to what you're searching. Here's potentially information from the digital archive, that kind of thing. So, so right now we are showing here's related archive content. Based on the search, we should get some books as well. So other things to notice for, so here's some books, Camp Makua. If we did a search for World War II, we would get more. So there's now a search type specifically for EBSCO. Once that is turned on, so people could search specifically just the EBSCO information if they want. There's World War II. We've got a few books. There's the event World War II, a few books related to World War II, all catalog results, the couple of collections that show the information, images and that kind of thing. So patrons can start to see, here's the wealth of information that the library has and is collecting. We don't want to overwhelm you if we think that you're primarily looking for those article information, but obviously go look at the catalog and that kind of thing too. All of the facets are available. These are based off the configuration within EBSCO. So if we want to say show me all of the primary source documents that you have related to World War II, we could do that, or reviews or news, whatever you want. There is still some work here to be done. Right now you can select one facet, so we need to expand that. We also need to add some of the checkbox limiters that EBSCO provides, so there's some work to be done there in terms of additional faceting functionality, as well as some of those additional limiters to be able to say, I just want to search stuff that has full text available and those kind of things.
Hi, Mark. This is Jay. Is the content provider at the bottom there, does that show the database, the EBSCO database that it comes out of?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So if we just wanted, well, this isn't going to work because now I've got two facets and it's probably going to give us an ugly error message. Oh, or it's going to work, one of the two.
You can have multiple facets in EDS.
Oh, you can. You just can't yet in Pika because I haven't told EBSCO that the person has clicked more than one yet. So mainly because I have to figure out how they want it in the API. So
one question. Can you open the facet, the subject facet thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. When that was open before, the first subject was World War II instead of World War 1939 to 45. And I was wondering where did that come from, and now I wonder where did it go?
All of them come directly from EBSCO. So it's probably because we limited by the content provider. So my guess is somebody else had World War II when we were narrowing by primary source documents. So I think it's just another inconsistency of information, and EBSCO I'm sure has it worse than anybody else. So in terms of trying to get everybody to catalog everything exactly the same.
Yeah, I think the subject headings aren't uniform from database to database, even within EBSCO.
Yeah.
So that's probably it.
We don't want them uniform. They're specialized thesauri in some databases.
Right. It's just when you're trying to search for subjects, you'll miss some things if you're trying to search a bunch of different EBSCO hosted databases at once. You have to look in the specific thesauri of each database, basically.
Mark, this is Joe. How does, on your Explore More, how does it know that for this library I should check these sources for Explore More?
It will be defined in the library administration. So here are the settings not to touch until we tell you to touch them. So we've got some new sections down here. We've got an EBSCO EDS section, where we would fill out people's information for how to access the API, and then the allow searching the archive. So if neither of those are checked on, you won't get any sort of Explore More functionality. We also have a kind of global configuration that says turn off all of the Explore More functionality. So we expect this information to be off for the next month and then be ready to turn on hopefully at the end of next month.
So you don't have any available sources that would be available to all libraries, like Wikipedia or news sources, or?
We will probably get some. So far we've shown Explore More for archive and let me get out of, so for archive and for EDS, we also want to start separating some of the enrichment that we have now from the actual record. So let's just look at a fiction title that likely this wouldn't have any sort of related content in Explore More. What we think though is that also in this series, the similar titles from Novelist, similar authors, similar series will show up here as well. Okay, so we've got our More Like This, so other books, so things that used to be down here, we think now would belong in the Explore More functionality. So things like, here's other books that are similar to this based off of the metadata within the record, similar titles from Novelist, similar authors from Novelist, similar series from Novelist. So we think those will give those things a little more prominence. They'll also help to identify, here's things that are about the book in the right side, as well as things that are related to the book in the left side. And that's where potentially we can start bringing in some of the Wikipedia data. We can start bringing in other sources of content enrichment based off some of that linked data again. So, and then the Explore More can also be collapsed so that we can view the record larger. Does that kind of answer your question, Joe?
Yes, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. That was a lot. Pascal, Jordan, what did I miss talking about?
I think you hit the high points. There's just still a lot more that we're working on. So this is just like half of it, and we're still thinking a lot about what goes where and why. So
yeah,
yeah, but I think that's the big points.
Yeah, we're narrowing in on this solution, and this is something where before we release it, we do want to put it in front of users. So I'm working to schedule a couple of usability tests for later in this month to see how patrons actually react, and a big part of whether or not this is ready at the end of March or if it's ready at the end of April will kind of be based off of some of those usability tests to make sure that patrons really do understand it and see what sort of refinements we need to do and that kind of thing. So that was a lot. Any questions about Explore More functionality or EBSCO integration? Any initial likes or dislikes?
Probably just a lot to absorb here. I think this looks all very good and promising, and certainly, you know, some of what you're doing will vary from members and libraries, is what they already have or don't have, you know.
Yeah.
People who have that skill or don't and stuff like that. But
yeah, and the trick right now is we are using those EBSCO APIs which come with EDS. So at some point we'll need to talk with EBSCO and say, hey, we've got lots of people with a subscription to EBSCO, but not so many that have a subscription to EDS. And
yeah,
how do we how do we get access to that for everybody? Because a lot of people have that through the state. So.
Mark, this is Jay again. This may be a deeper dive than you're asking for now, but I just thought I'd throw it out. Why not? The technicalities of creating something like what EDS does and what Summon does, but have it be Marmot would be so incredible, I think. So a discovery tool like that was without that, technicalities, I don't know how that would operate or look, but EBSCO obviously, or EDS of course favors EBSCO databases. Summon probably favors certain other databases and or not specific types of things. I think to have a tool that wasn't proprietary based or owned by the same companies that create the databases basically would be really interesting, and I don't know if that's ever something that had been talked about with Pika. That was kind of what my question was alluding to, non-EBSCO database possibly being integrated.
Hey, Mark.
Okay, go, Jimmy.
Yeah, let me answer this. Really, the most that we can practically do in Pika is feature advertisements for all the content and all the indexing and all the stuff that EBSCO does or Summon does. We're not in any position at Marmot to compete with either of those services or to try to do a content agnostic approach, because as you say, EBSCO, the Legends Go favors their own metadata, ProQuest the same. We cannot get our hands on all the metadata that will allow us to set up something independent of those. Colorado State University tried, when they started working with Viewfind about 7 or 8 years ago, they thought that they were going to set up something that was full discovery of the catalog, the website, the digital repository, and all the journal metadata, and they stopped at number 4 because it was a huge impossible task for them, just like it is for us. So the way any of Marmot libraries or discovery partners should be thinking about this EBSCO integration is, here's a sample of what you can get out of the other journal databases that the library is subscribing to. This, I don't think it's practical to think about this as an alternative to EDS, but as a flag to your patrons to say, we've got other content in the library. Some patrons approach the catalog first and they think that's all there is. Other patrons learn pretty quickly that there's the journal databases, EBSCO and so forth. This is really it's almost like a free sample of EBSCO content for those patrons who approach the catalog. And already what Mark's doing with the API, with the facets and so forth, is kind of over the top. It's I don't know, maybe that's the wrong word, but it's more than I would think a catalog generally needs to do. It's very nice, but in my opinion, this is as far as the catalog should go. At some point, we have to draw the line and say, do not step into the territory of EDS for all the other stuff that EDS does. As far as Summon, if we have a critical mass of libraries who are interested in Summon, we could approach the same thing. Right now, among all the Marmot libraries, there's just one, CCU, using Summon. And among the discovery partners, I've never heard any of them mention Summon, so I think we have something less than a critical mass for Summon. But anyway, that's kind of a long answer to what can we do instead of EBSCO or instead of Summon? Nothing. We cannot do these things instead of those services. What we can do with APIs on top of those services looks pretty nice here, what Mark's done with it. But any further, we get into a zone which is super impractical for an organization like Marmot.
Yeah, I guess thinking about it more, it's kind of like the Overdrive and setting up the Adobe Content Server. Well, yes, we can set up an Adobe Content Server, and we can give patrons books that way. Basically, we find that it's a whole lot of work that is better to just pay somebody to do. And setting up a content server is just a lot of work, and collecting all of that information and winds up being far more expensive for very little reward. would be the closest analogy I can think of. So.
And then folks who are looking at this, especially CMC, I think you guys have been looking at this harder than most. Does this look good, adequate, functional? Is this?
I think it's so cool. Every time I see what you guys have done to it. This is Ashley from Click. I just love seeing how integrated it is, and it looks so seamless. I wish we could incorporate this for our libraries at some point, or have, it's just so cool. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks. On Mark's and Pascal.
The line share.
Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns on this, or? All right, so as always, let's see, we've got Discovery or Digital Archive Committee coming up in, 2 weeks, so anybody who wants to see latest and greatest in 2 weeks, you're welcome to join Digital Archive Committee, because normally we're doing the leapfrogging, and every 2 weeks there's something new to see. It just doesn't get deployed until right after Discovery Committee, so join us in 2 weeks and see something new, although we've got Code for Lib coming up, so it might not be too much new in 2 weeks. Let's see. I guess we can go back to agenda if there's no other questions. So this release is due to go out on Thursday night with a, so Friday morning be available type of thing. I don't at this point see any reason that would get delayed. There may be a couple of other little cleanup things that we'll put out in release notes that get fixed today and that kind of thing. But at this point, I'm not expecting anything major. Next sprint, as you can tell, is probably a lot of the, hey, we're going to finish all of the work on archive and EDS and try to get this ready for release. We'll, of course, be looking at all of the bugs and other features that come in to see what things we can deal with as we're getting the EBSCO integration and the digital archive integration ready to start getting turned on. Any questions about what's coming for the next month? Anything that anybody sees on their radar that they want to bring special attention to for me to make sure it gets scheduled? All right. Then the last thing, we've got a little time for updates from libraries if anybody has any new things coming up, anything they're doing with PICA, anything they're doing with Discovery that they want to bring up, any conferences. I guess we will be presenting at Code for Lib next Thursday, talking, I think next Wednesday is our presentation. So we will be talking a lot about this Explore More type of functionality and integrating results from a variety of data sources without doing bento boxes or federated searching. Anybody else? Conferences coming up? New libraries coming into consortia? Other fun things they want to talk about?
This is Beth with Flutter, and we have Longmont coming up April 1st, April Fool's Day.
So they will all roll in and be live by the next PICA release. So
yes, it's very exciting. I'm actually at the Longmont Library today training, so.
Oh, excellent.
It's happening.
Fabulous.
Well, at Click, we're really starting to finally get this pushed out to way more of our libraries, which has been awesome. We've seen such a huge uptick in, especially like e-resource usage with all of our, with just the connectivity with 3M and the ease of use. So hopefully we'll have everybody out by the end of the summer, well, hopefully anyway. So it's just been so exciting to see everybody start using it and making some valuable use out of everything. So
good.
I just had a question. Are there any libraries out there that are using the Google Analytics, and how are you using them for PICA?
So this is Nicole at Adams State, and I do use Google Analytics. I actually use it more for my home website page than I do for PICA because I can get the information easier, but Mark set up a specialized report for me that allows me to get the search terms people are using in PICA, and I'd really like to narrow those down to the student search terms and then kind of analyze them over the summer as to, because I look at my discovery search terms on a daily basis right now, and I just see, you know, what's working. I do a couple of tests of the terms that are being put in to see if I'm getting results that make sense to me, because if I'm not getting results that make sense to me, the user is probably not getting results that make sense to them. And so that's how I tend to use analytics. Does that make sense?
Thanks.
Could that be used to drive browse categories too? If you see lots of...
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I looked and see who's using what browse category, if I could figure out how to do that.
And I don't know, I've been able to get heat maps of my website, but I've never seen heat maps of the browse categories in PICA, and I don't know if I could get at that information specifically for my site. Would that be possible, Mark?
In terms of looking at usage, if you go into browse categories, it will give you counts of number of times it was shown, number of times it was clicked. So you say, oh, okay, well, for the ones that you have shown, obviously, is what you'd want to look at. And this is the test system, so it's not a whole lot. Let's look at this on Mercury. So you could certainly say, oh, okay, this category is being used a lot. Every once in a while you see more clicks. Well, you see lots and lots of clicks on some of these. So kind of gauge what people think are popular. So these are, hey, new adult fiction, we've got 34,793 clicks. That winds up being used by default for a lot of people. But you can start to get some ideas of what is used a lot and that kind of thing to kind of gauge things, especially things that wind up being 2 or 3 down the chain. If they're getting a disproportionately high number of clicks, then you could look at promoting that, making that.
So that's the time shown and clicks are from when that browse category was created?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. We can't get a monthly views, so that's all time.
Yes. And then anything, was saying on chat that they use analytics to check audience and device usage and track referrals to PICA from linked data projects.
Yeah, Joe and I have sort of been digging into it at our leisure and finding some interesting stuff, but I think we've both been curious about how other people are extrapolating data and making it useful. So.
Any other topics anybody wants to talk about?
Nope, I'm guessing not, so.
Okay.
Looks like we can wrap up, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for all that. You were right. That was a lot of demo. But that was good. So yeah, next meeting Tuesday, April 5th. We'll see you back then, and I guess, as usual, if people have anything, email to Heike and then watch for the release Friday morning and let Mark know of anything, I would guess.
Yep. And we'll get release notes out for this later today or tomorrow morning, just so everybody has a chance to take a look at those before the release instead of after. So. And thank you to Tammy again for doing those. So.
Alrighty. Well, I'll type up minutes for this, and I know Tammy will have a recording available pretty soon, so we'll email out about that as well. Otherwise, we'll see everyone in April.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.